This week's talk is called How You Can Dream Large When You're Feeling Small. And as always, I have some quotes to begin. You must have a calm, unfaltering trust in revealing what's real, and in so doing, freeing the physical from false belief. That's Ernest Holmes. In fact, all these quotes today are Ernest Holmes, Dr. Ernest Holmes. Second quote. In this visible law of unfoldment, we must come to trust, and although we do not see the way, we must believe that the way is and is operative. We must trust the invisible, for it is the sole cause of that which is visible. And lastly, the student should take time every day to see his life as he wishes it to be, to make a mental picture of his ideal. He should pass this picture over to the law and go about his business with a calm assurance that on the inner side of life, something is taking place. So trust, calm assurance, knowing these are the keys. And yet when we're feeling small, having faith, trust, and calm assurance isn't so easy. Just this morning, I woke up feeling so anxious. I woke up with a huge amount of anxiety. I felt so small compared to this dream that to me looked so large. My mind was going crazy with thoughts of how am I going to accomplish this great dream of my life? And my sleep, in my sleeping dreams, they were all incredibly anxious. I woke up, I slept terribly. I woke up so many times during the night. It just was not a good night's sleep for me. And yet, I knew that those moments of feeling anxiety only ran me if I let them. Each time I woke up, I got a hold of myself, reminded myself who I truly was, fell deep into my spiritual practice. Now, it happened again, and so I had to do it again. And by morning, I had to do it again. And I'll tell you what, this morning, working with my anxiety took hours. And yet I knew that it was the only way I was going to work myself through in holding a big dream instead of letting feeling small win. So my dream is to create a movie that takes the concepts expressed in The Secret to a whole other level, where the audience can get a real experience of what it actually takes to put the law of attraction to work in our lives. I've lined up these amazing teachers to speak to the depths of what it goes on to create a magnificent life. The movie's called Awakening to the Miraculous. My wife and Ashley and I are using ourselves as the guinea pigs for this movie and working with these teachers, documenting the results as a way of showing, we're documenting all of it, the good, the bad, and the ugly, to show the whole gamut of what it takes to delve deep into bringing to life the law of attraction and the life of your dreams. My dream is to have this movie touch 100 million lives and to change the consciousness of the planet forever. Now that is a huge dream. And some days, like this morning, I wake up with a huge amount of anxiety around how am I going to, who am I to accomplish this huge feat? Who am I to think that I can actually do this? And so what I did is this morning I actually filmed myself in my smallness and in the work I did to work through it, because if this film is actually going to touch that many people, it's in its authenticity that we reach people, that this film will actually do the job I dream it to do. And so that's what I bring to you today, that this process of bringing to life your large dreams starts with authenticity of where you really are. But then the next piece of it is if you are feeling small, is to know that your feelings are lying, that you are not small. You are a divine being. You are a divine being having a divine experience. And so just because you feel small, that doesn't make it true. We can sit and delve into our feelings and give them more power with questions like, why do I feel that way? Or we can use a question that Mary Morrissey likes to say, which is, what do I love? As you can see, as a question like, why do I feel this way, has a very contracted feeling to it. And yet we tend to ask ourselves that question all the time, giving power to the very thing we want to break through and break out of. The key here is to focus, not to deny that you feel that way. I am not talking about denial. I'm talking about a breakthrough to recognizing and getting back to the heart of what do I love? And then focusing on that. I held in my consciousness this morning the results of having made that film and its impact on the planet and on my life. So I told myself this morning what a powerful, creative, spiritual being I am. That I am a divine being having a divine experience. I know people like to say that we are spiritual beings having a human experience, but I think it's more that we are spiritual beings having a spiritual experience here, a divine experience. And it is our remembering that we break through what others call realistic, what others say, this is, you got to get a hold of what the reality of your life is. Baloney. Reality is what we make it. And we have the ability to make it whatever we want as long as we remember that we are divine beings having a divine experience, having a spiritual experience. That it is human to the extent that we allow it. Now, having a human experience is great. I love being in this skin. I love being alive on planet Earth. I love the idea that I am a divine being that gets to impact how I have this experience. And that when those small thoughts creep into my mind, I am the one who gets to go beyond that and come out. I listened to a recording by Napoleon Hill. He talked about the commitment he took from Andrew Carnegie to spend 20 years of his life interviewing the greatest minds of our planet. And that he wasn't going to pay him to do that. That he was going to have to figure out his own living on his own while he took on that commitment. He took on that commitment and he did it. He said yes. And so for 20 years, he went about interviewing folks with the purpose of writing a book from those interviews when he was done at the end of 20 years. Now, his family and friends were not on his side around this. They thought he was crazy. They asked him, what are you doing? You're wasting your time. And there were times he felt like he was wasting his time. But he kept moving forward and reminding himself of the powerful, creative, spiritual being he was. And he not only got that book done at the end of 20 years, but it has impacted millions of lives. Think and Grow Rich has impacted an entire movement because he was willing, with no evidence that this thing was going to work out, commit to a 20-year purpose with no one supporting him around doing it. People telling him he was crazy. And yet he has impacted the planet in a permanent and positive way because he was willing to make that commitment. And he ended his days very rich. Only you know what is yours to do in this lifetime. And if you're unsure about what is yours to do, think back to when you were a little kid and your dreams then. Maybe somebody told you they were unrealistic. And maybe you took that on and tell yourself that those dreams you had when you were a little kid are still unrealistic. Well, I'm here to tell you that there is nothing unrealistic and there is nothing impossible. That when you feel small, there is something you can grasp onto that is so much larger than yourself that can lift you up out of the smallness that you're feeling. Henry Ford said, if you think you can, if you think you can't, you're right. So am I saying jump off a cliff and fly? Well, no. And yes, because it takes more certainty than positive thinking or believing that you could run off a cliff and fly. But people are doing things that others thought were impossible all the time. There's this guy named Wim Hof. He's a Dutch endurance artist who currently holds 18 world records for his superhuman acts in which he demonstrates his ability to withstand extreme cold. He climbed Mount Kilimanjaro in only 2 days wearing nothing but shorts. He completed a full marathon around the polar circle in Finland in temperatures below 0 Fahrenheit, wearing only shorts. He submerged himself in ice for an hour and 44 minutes, another world record. Now that's crazy. And yet he did it. Hypothermia can take you over in 10 minutes, and he lasted an hour and 44 minutes and lived to tell the tale. Healthy. A man named Stig Severinsen can hold his breath underwater for not 5 minutes, not 10 minutes, not 20 minutes, but 22 minutes. Now, I can't hold my breath for 3 minutes so far, and this guy can do it for 22 minutes. Now, that probably sounds impossible to you, and these people were called crazy for even trying to attempt this stuff. But it shows that whatever we think is realistic, there's somebody out there who's going to prove us wrong, who's going to go beyond that, who's going to do what we thought was impossible. So it might as well be us. Don't let your smallness hold down your large dream. Dr. Holmes tells us the deeper we can trust, the more the depth of that trust takes form in our lives. We must know that we know. These are folks who knew that they knew. When you feel small, dive in head first to trust. Dive into your largeness. Dive into whatever spiritual practice reminds you of who you are, what your purpose is, and the divine being you are. I mean, all of you that make sure you remember every time that your small feelings are a lie. That you are a powerful, creative, spiritual being, and your life works magnificently. Whatever your experience of that, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what evidence you have. It doesn't matter. Here's what matters, that you are a divine being of God, having a divine experience that you get to impact with how you hold yourself in your spiritual practice. If you are willing to take on the small you and not believe its lies, no matter what the evidence is, your life can grow to something magnificent, no matter how unrealistic others or even you may think it is, and get support. Know that you are not alone. We here at the Virtual Center for Spiritual Living, the YANA Virtual Center for Spiritual Living, are here to support you. We have practitioners who will know for you the truth. I will know for you the truth. You do not have to go through this alone. Contact us. This is a matter of hammering in a stake into your ground of greatness, standing tall for your divinity, asking yourself, what do I love? And knowing that absolutely you deserve to live the life you love. Thank you. I love you.
You are the face of God. I hold you in my heart. You are a part of me. You are the face of God.